Hello everyone, welcome back. In the last two sessions of this series, we have seen what is context engineering is all about and then how the growing context can actually create the challenges in the AI agents. And we also discussed about the different context strategies. In the session 2, we have seen a strategy called context to loadout. In this session, we are going to see what is context quarantine is all about. So we are going to first start discussing what is context quarantine is all about. Then I'm going to show you an agent, a kind of a chatbot type of agent where when the user is continuously conversation with that agent, the context grows and we see the comparison of what happens a agent without context quarantine and agent with context quarantine, and will compare how the agents will perform behave when the context is not quarantined. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful strategies in context engineering, context quarantine. Think of this as giving each agent its own private workspace, its own clean desk, so they don't trip over each other nodes, right? So what is context quarantine is all about? Basically, context quarantine means we isolate each agent's context into its own thread. Instead of dumping all prompts, tools and memory into one giant context window, which can quickly get noisy, we separate them out. So each agent works inside its own dedicated bubble. So the math, for example, if you have a math agent, it will see only math related information. The research agent only see a research related information, and no crosstalk and no confusion. So how do we implement this? So we implement this typically using a supervisor multi-agent system where we could use something like a land graph supervisor architecture. So you will have a supervisor agent is like the conductor of an orchestra. So it decides which specialist to call based on the task type. For example, if the task involves some calculations, it delegates to the math expert, which has got a calculator, and it will pass only the required information for that agent, not more, not less. Then if at all it has to do some involves in gathering some information, doing some research, then it will invoke the research expert agent. So it will only invoke pass only required context for that agent. So you can see that each of these agents is running in its own context window, completely separate, but the supervisor coordinates them and even handles the cases where results need to be passed from one to other. So this is what you can think like any supervisor. You are having 3 4 subordinates and a supervisor. So supervisor coordinates the work, he delegates the work to each subordinate, only gives them required information for them to perform their task without giving a lot of information, right? So what are the benefits of this? It prevents the context clash and distractions. No more leaking of irrelevant information from one task into another. Second, it enforces a clear delegation rule, so you always know which agent is responsible for what. Third, it also leads to efficient focused reasoning because each agent only see what it needs. And finally, it enables multi-skill collaboration. The supervisor can hand results from one agent to another, creating a powerful step-by-step reasoning chains. Next, what we'll do is we are going to see a demo of this context quarantine pattern. So we are going to build a fintech type of agent where user can chat with that agent, and we see that when some user is talking continuously and if you don't separate the context, how the context goes quickly and agent response might be a little bit irrelevant sometimes. So we are going to again compare that with the agent where three different agents are there and you have a router which will route to a different agent passing only the required context for that agent, and we'll see the response of that agent. So that is what the demo is all going to be. So next what I'll do is I'm going to demo you that particular agent and we'll see the context quarantine in action. So next we'll see the demo of this context quarantine. So we are going to build a fintech agent which can answer the questions on the stocks, or it can do your portfolio analysis, or it can tell the some recent news about any company, the stock price, everything. So let's see what how the code. Okay, we are using the supervisor agent pattern in the line graph, which will do all the coordination. So what we'll do is I'll walk you through the code. We'll execute the code, then we'll go to Langsmith and see how the traces looks. Then you can see how the supervisor agent is passing the context or passing the call to each individual agent, and how the individual agents are only having the context related to that. Okay, so we are loading environment variables here. So we are having this lang chain trace, the project name. So I'm using DeepSeek for this. Okay, so I'm having some mock data, portfolio data, because it has to analyze. So first I'm having the tools. Let's walk you through what all the tools are using. So we are using first tool called get stock prices tool. This is using some Yahoo Finance ticker symbol. Given a symbol, it gives this tool. Okay, then we are also using get financial news. I'm using Perplexity API to search any financial related news. Okay, and the next one is I'm also having get all portfolio holding tools, which will gives me all the portfolios I am having in my portfolio, all the stocks I'm having in my portfolio. And then there is another tool called check portfolio holdings. It check the for that whether that particular symbol is there in my portfolio, how many shares I owned, what is the average cost, and other things. And then I am also having some tools like calculate portfolio impact, which will do some impact analysis. And then I am also having analyze portfolio comprehensive. This is one type of a tool, so which will take my stock price analysis results, and then it takes a news queries, and it does all analysis, comprehensive analysis. So now these are all my available tools. Okay, so the next one is that we need to define the agents. So we are having a specialized agents for each task. So first I'm having a stock agent, which is again a React agent. So what this stock will do is, this is a stock expert. So this agent will just give you the stock prices for a given. If I say what is the stock price from Amazon or Apple or Tesla, it gives you the particular stock price. Right, so it says you are a stock market data specialist with access to real-time stock information. So your responsibility is this, your role analysis is this, and all the constraints. So next we are going to create a news expert. This agent, if you see that this agent is using get stock price tool. Okay, and similarly we are having another agent called get financial news. This is a news expert. This is using get financial news tool, and this agent is specialist in researching the financial news and market sentiments and provide news summaries, focus exclusively on this. And so we are also seeing some constraints. Then I am having another agent called portfolio agent. So its job is, it will check all my portfolio holding, check portfolio holding impact. It will simply does all my portfolio analysis, check initial portfolio holdings and positions, get complete portfolio listing and required, perform comprehensive portfolio wide analysis. Okay, so these are my agents. Next we are having, and each agent is having some constraints, and the tools we are using, everything has been baked into this particular prompt. Next we are having a supervisor agent. This is agent which will do all the coordination depending upon the user query. This agent knows which agent to call it. Okay, so it is, first we are saying you are a financial advice supervisor managing 3 specialist expert. One is stock expert, one is a news expert, and then portfolio expert. So we are actually providing some rules for it. Okay, so how do this event impact my stock? So this agent has to go and talk to news expert and also a stock expert. So what is happening with this stock? News expert plus stock expert, right? We are also giving some sample query, simple queries like direct routing. And we are also giving, if it is a portfolio analysis, how will this event impact my portfolio? We need to go for portfolio export. So my portfolio exposure to this sector, then we have to go to this portfolio export. So we're also giving some, some future examples or some examples for this one. Okay, what is the current Amazon current price? It goes stock price. For example, if say how does tariff will impact Amazon stock, we have to go to news export as well as stock export. So then we are giving some instructions. Then we are giving some role which is very important. You route queries to appropriate export based on what information is needed. Okay, always combine response using multiple exports. Okay, never perform analysis yourself. You have this agent is only coordinating the task. So it is not doing anything on its own. It is talking to each export and then it is combining that information and giving it, right? Then we're creating this is again create supervisor as a LangGraph built-in supervisor agent. We call create supervisor and pass stock agent, news agent, and then portfolio agent. So we are all three agents we defined. We are passing all of them to the supervisor agent. Next is simple. We'll just go ahead and do .compile. Then is a demo. So what we'll do in demo, the most important thing is not about this end. We'll go and see in the Langsmith UI after the demo how it happened. Okay, for every demo. So now we are going to run the queries one by one, and also while running for each query we'll go and compare in the Langsmith UI the traces. So now let's run this demo. So we'll see like how basically depending upon the user question it has to invoke the corresponding tool. Now once it is done, we'll go to the Langsmith and see the trace. So now let me just ask some simple question like what is the latest news on NVIDIA, right? Let's see what is. Now it is going to Langsmith. First by enabling the Langsmith traces, let's see what it is doing first. So it has to first invoke the news tool. So it is doing a research NVIDIA latest from stock earnings and everything, right? Because now we're just getting to know only what is the NVIDIA latest news. So let's see, let's wait for a few seconds till that it goes to Perplexity, get all the answers from Perplexity, and then analyzes and give you back the answer. So now we can see that it just gives some simple response. Of course, depending upon how much response I want to give, I'm controlling that. So you'll see. Otherwise, if you want to have a reliable response, you can bake that in the prompt, or maybe you can display it. For now, I'm just showing a condensed response from that model. Now we'll head back to Langsmith and then see what is happening in the Langsmith for this particular trace, like how it is transferring the request from the supervisor to the each tool. Okay, let's see that one. Now this is a Langsmith. We have seen this tracing, but pick up the trace. This is the latest trace what we're having, right? So now you can see that this is input, right? We asked what is latest news on the NVIDIA. You can see that this is supervisor, connecting the news expert. So now supervisor is transferring to news expert. So it is successfully transferred to news expert, and news expert has given the latest news on that. So from you can see that when it's transferring to transfer news expert, it is having all these things, but when actually goes to news expert, it is just passing only the required input. This is having, but again from news expert, when it goes to get financial news also, it is having only the NVIDIA latest stock market earnings input. That's it. It is not passing the other information it got, right? So that's the key thing about where you are separating the context. So you can see that initially the supervisor is what it got this input, right? So this is input, right? So it is transfer news export. When you transfer news export, it is actually this. You can don't get confused with this one. This is a tool it is using internally. If you observe, we don't have this tool explicitly defined in our code. Transfer to news export. LangGraph is using this tool internally to pass the data between the each agents. Now, when it actually calling the news expert, you can see that it is not passing anything. It is passing only what is latest news on Nvidia only, right? Not other news. It is not passing. So now this is calling this one get financial news. It get it go and then what is the this is the input and then this is the output. And then when it actually goes to the get financial news, you can see that the query is changing again. It is built in the query on its own, and then in the latest new stock market earnings, it is passing that one. That time it is not passing anything it got from the of course this get transfer news export is calling this financial news and then giving you back the results, right? So let's see where now next this is only using one agent. Now let's see what happens if it uses more than one agent. Then how does the context will change? One agent is simple because now we can see that it is passing that only required context to that agent. That's so far good, but we need to see if it is having more than one agent, how the context will passing will change. That what we'll see in the next question. Let's go back and then try another question where it involves more than one agent. So now let's see the if I ask this question like which involves more than one tool. Like now the next question I ask is how does ongoing tariff will impact Amazon stocks? Now it is getting from the Langsmith. Now we can see the Langsmith traces. We'll see later, but now it is first getting the news tool. It is getting the doing research. It is actually going to stock tool to get the data from Amazon stock. Now we can see that it is using two agents because stock tool is used by the stock expert, news tool is used by the research expert. So there are two agents different using one of both the tools. Now it might take a little bit time because it has to research, it has to get the data from both the tools, combine both of them and then get you the answer you want. Yeah, now it has finished its analysis based on my both news and stock expert. So it has considered both the experts. Okay, so comprehensive analysis, current market positions of Amazon, what is the market cap and everything, then significant negative impact and tariffs and key vulnerability factors, broader market market context and mitigation strategies. It is giving full information. Now our main interest is to go back to Langsmith and now see how this information is exchanged between supervisor agent and individual agents. Let's see that now. Okay, you can actually see that of course the whole trace is there, but we'll focus on what is important, how the control is getting transferred. Let's go to the end supervisor. You can see that it started with this, how does ongoing tariff will impact Amazon stocks. It has called the news expert. News expert gave this one. It is saying that transferring it back to the supervisor. The control went back to the supervisor. Now supervisor took the successfully to the control and then supervisor again transferring it back to the stock expert. And then stock expert did the analysis. It got the information about stocks. It is again passing it back to the supervisor, right? And this is the final output supervisor gave. So the key thing is that each one is getting only that required context. The supervisor agent is coordinating this process of transferring the control back to each agent so that there is not one big global context which is being shared across these agents. Okay, so this is about how we can actually use a supervisor agent to separate the context between when you're having multiple agents, so that each agent will have its own context, so it doesn't confuse the context with other agents, right? So that's what you can see actually here. When you get stock price and it's calling this tool, it is only passing this symbol, right? And let's see the agent and then let's see the prompt here. Yeah, get stock price is a tool and this is the input we are passing. You can see that we are not passing any other information. How does ongoing tariff will impact Amazon stocks? So this is about the how we could actually have a supervisor agent passing the control to the individual agent, so that each agent will work only on that particular task it's supposed to do without actually confusing the context.